Hello everybody, SlimKirby here. First of all, Merry Christmas to everyone. Hope you guys have a good Christmas day if you don't celebrate Christmas. Hope you had a good holiday season. Hope you continue to have a good holiday season. Enjoy your time off from school and all the other things you get a day off from during this great and blessed season. Finally, for you guys on Christmas Day, I've decided to break my tradition of not uploading anything. And I'm going to actually bring you guys the 3 videos for the Mario Party 10 rankings. So, the best minigames, the worst minigames, and a small other video I decided to make for this little collection of videos as well. I'm not going to have any skits during this part, aside from this little vlog section right here. Truth be told, I just didn't have a lot of good joke ideas, and I didn't think they were really that appropriate, or didn't really fit this video, so I just decided to leave them out. Plus, it was getting really close to the deadline of Christmas, and it's been a really busy month for me, so I couldn't put any skits. Hope you guys enjoy the top 10 worst, best minigames, and some other little rankings I have created for this game. Later, folks. After the release of Mario Party 9, fans were hoping that it was a one-time venture and the 10th game would return back to the classic formula that we all know and love. And while initial E3 trailers had glimpses of stuff that looked promising, when the game came out, fans were sorely disappointed once again. Probably even more so than they were with Mario Party 9, and that game was already kind of controversial as it was. Alas, Mario Party 10 came out, and I gotta say, Mario Party 9 blows the pants off of Mario Party 10. Mario Party 10's focus is just too all over the place. Mario Party 9 had a single formula and identity and knew what it wanted to be as a video game. Its gameplay was not what I and many others wanted it to be, but I had enough confidence to be what it was and to get some mild thrills and enjoyments out of it. Mario Party 10 tries to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, and it doesn't really work. It has a mode reminiscent of Mario Party 9, a mode that features glimpses of classic Mario Party gameplay, and a new mode altogether that feels more like a side game. You know, maybe that's what it is. There is no main gameplay mode of Mario Party 10. It's just a bunch of side games thrown together in one package. It feels more like Wii Party than it does Mario Party, and while I do like Wii Party, it's just not what Mario Party should be, at least in my opinion. Many people attribute this to Hudson Soft not being the main developer of the series anymore, and while it does seem fairly accurate considering Mario Party 9 was not Hudson Soft either, and that's when these problems started happening, I still don't think it's any excuse to heavily change the formula like the developers in D-Cube did. While I am sure they are great developers in their own right, they do not know what makes Mario Party a beloved series, and they honestly need to go back to the drawing board, do their research, and come back with something that's actually a Mario Party installment, not a collection of side games with the Mario Party name on it. We're overdue for a true Mario Party game. It's going on 8 years now, and I want a new one, really badly, and I know a lot of other people do too. As usual for these lists of 3 videos, I'll have a video centering on the top 10 best minigames and the top 10 worst minigames. For the third video, while I will rank the Mario Party boards in this game, I also want to say a few things about the Bowser Party and Amiibo Party boards as well. But don't expect a lot of content or explanations in that video, just because, well, you're just going to have to wait and see, because I have a lot I want to say, and I want to get this started. Let's get this started with, as usual, the top 10 worst minigames. Number 10, King Boo's Tricky Tiles. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. In my Mario Party 9 videos, I made a claim that King Boo's boss bet minigame was perhaps my favorite minigame in the entire game itself. I can't really say the same this time around. In this game, you must move horizontally or vertically across a grid trying to land on the switches on the other side of the playing field. Based on what switch you land on, you can deal 1 or 3 damage to King Boo. Your goal is to try and do as much damage to the boss as possible so you have the highest amount of points when the boss goes down. While this is more of a group minigame where the points affect the standings outside the minigame and there is no actual winner, you still want to do as much damage as possible. The thing I dislike most about this minigame is that you can easily get screwed over by your starting location. I find that the players on the left and right sides will often get a layout that prevents them from getting a good start, putting them behind the other 2 players in the middle. They try to fix this by having switches to the left and right sides, but most of the time, there won't be a direct path to them that doesn't go through the middle, or in some cases, they will have a false platform 2 spaces in front of your starting position, which will force you to jump to the left or right for your second jump, which is where your opponent has already started. Overall, it's an interesting concept for a game, but it just doesn't work out in execution. Hell, the Monty Mole boss minigame kinda does this idea too, but in a much better way. I should also mention that this will be the only mention of boss minigames in these lists. Because of that, here's my standing on them. I love them in Mario Party 9 because they were new and unique. However, in Mario Party 10, they just became unmemorable and unoriginal. Most of them aren't bad games at all, but they aren't great games either. And that's why they won't be appearing on these lists, aside from this one, the only truly bad one. Number 9, Bob-omb Combo. Another great idea for a minigame that just doesn't really work out in execution. In this game, each player throws a lit bob-omb into a crowd of other bob-ombs. Your goal is to ignite as many bob-ombs as possible in one throw, using the explosion of your bob-omb to make the ones around it blow up in a giant explosion chain. It's a great idea, I really like it, but the fact that the bob-ombs continue to move as the explosions are going off kind of opens the doors for a lot of potential screwage. Picture this, you find your sweet spot of where you want to throw the bomb, and you chuck it over expecting a giant combo of explosiony death. Just to have all the bombs move out of the way while your bomb is getting ready to explode. You may get a few bob-ombs in the blast, and while in some cases it will add up, in other cases it won't, giving you a measly 4 points while the other players get extremely lucky and get 30 points with a throw that looked incredibly bad at first. Yeah, just not really a fan of how this one plays out. Number 8, Blooper Blast Off. In a game that has bloop to the surface with the 2 button as its entire minigame description, I guess you can't really expect a whole lot from this. Which reminds me, anyone else disappointed how short and vague the descriptions are for these minigames? Remember when they told you the rules, the controls, and gave you a little hint for how to play, each with its own different window? I miss those days. In this game, you must race your opponents to the finish line near the top of the ocean bed, avoiding obstacles like pipes pushing out water currents and torpedo Teds firing off missiles at you. What makes this minigame tough, and by extension bad, is just the awkward movement of the blooper mobile. You have to move it like a blooper. You angle the Wiimote in the direction of where you need to go, and then press the 2 button in a rhythmic fashion as you ascend up the screen. This means you can't mash the 2 button, you have to rhythmically move it in the fashion that a blooper, which is kind of stressful in a racing game, because you feel so pressured to mash the button as quickly as possible. Also, is it just me, or are the torpedo Teds really difficult to avoid in this game as well? Yep, not a fan of this one either. Number 7, Steal the Beat. I've never really been a big fan of the games where one player has to play a beat and the other players have to copy it. Move to the Music in Mario Party 2 is like that, and that game was also ranked pretty low. Steal the Beat is very similar. One player beats on the drums while the other 3 players try to copy the beat. I have to say, even though Move to the Music was a flawed game, I still like it better than this one. The single player has a lot more freedom to make a beat as crazy as he wants, while the team of 3 has to match the rhythm exactly. There are only 2 buttons to memorize, and you don't really have to memorize them. You just have to copy the beat and rhythm of the song. However, I feel the game is too fast though, as it's very easy for the team of 3 to slip up. They can make 10 mistakes, but any more, and it's game over for them. Number 6, Goom Brat Combat. This is one of those cases where I just want to stay quiet, let you guys watch the minigame unfold, and see if you can tell what I don't like about it. This game is just too chaotic and random. The goal is to have less Goom Brats on your side of the field by time up, and you do so by knocking the little buggers onto the other side. By knocking Goom Brats in one direction, you'll probably knock a whole bunch of the others to this side as well, which means one punch can do, well, a random amount of things. It almost comes down to which team gets the final punch while still being at least somewhat competent in keeping the defense of your side of the field. It's just really, really random and not really a lot of fun either. Number 5, Bouncy Brawl. This game reminds me of good old Bouncin' Trance from Mario Party 3. How? Well, you're bouncing around, you're trying to knock out your fellow opponents by spin attacking them, and the most obvious similarity, it's a bad minigame. Okay, so this game is actually a little better than Bounce and Trounce, at least control-wise, but that's really all the credit I feel like giving it. Your goal is to use your spin attack when the other players aren't using it, because when you do so, you'll knock your opponent really far and possibly out of the ring. When you use your spin attack against someone else who is spin attacking, you won't travel as far, and in some cases you might be the one who gets caught off guard by the impact. You also need to be careful because after spinning for a while, you'll stop for a bit before you can spin attack again, so don't leave yourself open too much. So it's kind of a thing of knowing when to be aggressive so you can make your move. Now, in my Mario Party 10 playthrough, I did get some comments in reference to this game and how to make an easy win each time. And while I do see the value in those strategies, I feel like if you need a strategy like that to manipulate your victory each time, it's kind of proof that the minigame itself is kind of broken. And perhaps the biggest reason why it's on this list, I just don't really like it that much. This is my list after all. Number 4, Flash Forward. Right. This game. Okay. Where to begin? You have a short amount of time to battle your way to the center of the podium to pose for a camera picture. At the end of time, your goal is to not only be in the picture, but in the center of the picture, on the podium, while posing for it. Based on whether these conditions are met and how many of those conditions you meet, you'll get points, but the person that meets the most of those conditions will usually be the winner. One thing I never understood is why computer players try to pose when there's plenty of time left. It's like, you're going to get attacked or knocked off if you even try to pose, so why even waste the energy now as opposed to closer to the end when it actually matters? You don't get rewards for how long you stay up there, it just comes down to whoever is there at the very end. And because of that, it's just a really, really flawed minigame that's, on top of being just a dumb idea for a game, it's just not a lot of fun to play either and not very memorable. Number 3, Spring Fling. This game is here for purely how freaking imbalanced it is as a minigame. The single-player ground pounds platforms that each have a different color and suit on them. Whenever that platform is pounded, the platform on the lower part where the team of 3 is gathered will spring into the air, knocking out any players that are on top of that platform. What makes this game broken is the fact that it's not really that hard to avoid getting launched. Just pay attention to the single player's movements and stay away from the platform it looks like they are getting ready to activate. And even if he or she manages to fake you out at the end, I still feel like there is a delay in between the ground pound and the spring animation, so you can make any little changes before it happens. And finally, the other factor that makes this game broken is the fact that the time limit is so short for this game as it is. It just doesn't seem like there's enough time for the single player to get enough of a chance. They just have to pray that the team of 3 doesn't pay attention, and that's kind of BS. Number 2, Fruit Cahoots. Of all the minigames in Mario Party 10, this is probably the game I would single out for potentially hating the most personally. But because it's not as broken or as imbalanced as the final game on this list, I'll have to give it a bit of a leeway here, as much as I don't want to. In this game, you have a conveyor belt that's filled with plates of fruit, or bombs. For each round, you decide whether or not you press a button to make the conveyor belt move one space forward. Once each player has made a choice, the conveyor belt will move forward as many spaces as players press the button, and whatever plate stops in front of each player, they will get that reward added or subtracted if it's a bomb to their point total. At the end of several rounds, whoever has the most points will essentially win the minigame. You don't get any indication of what other players are doing unless they flat out tell you what they pressed. Which means, yes, we have a luck-based minigame here. You have no guarantee to get what your plate you are aiming for, and while it feels like you should, you have no control over your fate in this game. I get what they were aiming for, trying to turn this into a giant mind game of sorts, but it just doesn't really work here. You're just pressing a button or not pressing a button, and sometimes you'll get rewarded, and other times you will probably not. That's basically all there is to this one. Number 1, Bubble Squabble. What? Bubble Squabble? The game where the single player tries to capture the entire team of 3 in bubbles before time is up? That seems like a very harmless game. Heck, it's kind of reminiscent of many other Mario Party 1 vs 3 games. Surely I must have made a mistake, right? Yeah, I think I did make a mistake. As mentioned, the solo player tries to capture the team of 3 in bubbles by using a bubble wand blowpipe that is capable of making humongous bubbles in no time. Meanwhile, the team of 3 is bouncing around trying to avoid the bubbles that are coming from below. The bubbles are kind of tricky to avoid because they kind of sway back and forth, and they can kind of catch you off guard if you aren't careful. But if you're smart, you can generally avoid them pretty easily. The solo player also must wait a small bit before making another bubble, so there is a bit of a time delay there too. But unlike Spring Fling, there is plenty of time to work with here. So yeah, this game is fine, so why the hell was this even on the list? Oh right, the team of 3 can break the bubbles if a player gets captured. That's right, if someone slips up and gets caught, another player can undo their misfortune by just touching them. This feature alone puts this game in the team of 3's favor, because all they have to do is just stay together. They stay together, one player gets caught, another player just moves over a little bit and frees them. I honestly can't see a way for the single player to ever win unless they are playing against computer players or, well, younger kids who haven't even made these connections yet. I think what gets me the most about this game is just the fact that it, down to its very core, it's fine. It could have even been in my top 10 list for all we know, but that one tiny addition just kind of threw the balance off and made it honestly broken. So yeah, this may not be the most conventional choice for the worst minigame of Mario Party 10. Like I said, overall I hate Fruit Cahoots a lot more, but this was a minigame that I just couldn't overlook or get past its flaws when I played through these games again for you guys. So those are my choices for top 10 worst minigames in Mario Party 10, but we still have the positive notes to go through. What games in this game were actually really good? And you know, there are actually a few interesting candidates here too. We'll be sure to check them out in the next video. Stay tuned. All videos will be uploaded today, so do not forget.